With a flick of his hand, the blackened sky blipped into eerie green. Crouched on the house's back deck, he adjusted his night goggles. The high bushes surrounding the yard illumined, the wizened limbs of a giant oak scraggling upward in surreal glow. He ran his hand over a pocket on his black cargo pants. The vial created a telltale bump against his thigh. His latex-gloved fingers closed around it. Rising, he crossed the deck in 5 long strides. He surveyed the lock on the sliding glass door. Not enough light. He raised the goggles, darkness reigning once more. From a left pocket, he extracted a tiny flashlight, aimed its beam at the lock. A common thief he was not. His mission had required intricate study of skills he'd never dreamed he'd need possess. The pick of a lock, a stealthy skulk, a means to render unconscious. He pulled the necessary tools from the same pocket. Holding the flashlight in his mouth, he worked the tools into the lock, manipulating as practiced. The mechanism gave way with a tiny click. He slid the door open. No alarm sounded. He knew it wouldn't. In this upper-crust town, home to Stanford University, alarms were for vacations. Children at home were too apt to set them off. He replaced the flashlight and tools in his pocket, slipped inside the house, and eased the door shut. Down came his goggles. The large kitchen gleamed into view. His astute nose picked up the lingering scent of pizza, cut with a trace of ammonia, a cleaning agent perhaps. The digital clock on the microwave read 2:36 a.m. From where he stood, he could see through open doorways to a den, a hall, and a dining room. At the threshold to the hall, he stopped and reached into the lower right pocket beneath his knee. The 3-ounce glass bottle he withdrew had a covered plastic pump spray. The chemical inside was not compatible with metals. He removed the cap and slid it back into his pants. Holding the bottle with trigger finger on the pump, he advanced into the hall. A left turn and he stood in the entryway. Straight ahead, a living room. On his left, a staircase, carpeted. He lifted a sneakered foot onto the bottom step. The bedrooms would be upstairs, 2 occupied. One by 9-year-old Lauren. The second, a master suite by Mother Janessa, called Janny. She would be alone. Her husband, the highly respected Dr. Brock McNeil, was supposedly imparting his impeccable knowledge at a medical symposium on Lyme disease. His jaw flexed. After 3 steps, he reached a landing. He turned left and resumed his inaudible climb. His heartbeat quickened. Too many emotions funneled into this moment. Grief-drenched years, anxiety, the playing out of 2 lives, and now adrenaline. He willed his pulse into submission. Once he went into action, everything would happen quickly. He needed his wits about him. Within seconds, his foot landed on the last stair. To his immediate left stood an open door. He craned his neck to see around the threshold. Empty bedroom. With a quick glance, he took in 3 more open doorways, 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, halfway down the hall. The closed door directly in front of him would be a closet. He looked down the length of the hall, saw 1 open door at the end. That was it, the master bedroom, running the entire depth of the house. He advanced to the next room on his left, peered inside. The green haloed room held a canopied bed and several dressers, a large stuffed lion in one corner. In the bed lay a small form on her back, 1 arm thrown over the blankets. Lauren. Beside her head was a stuffed animal. He could hear the girl's steady breathing. His mouth flattened to a thin, hard line. He turned and glared at his targeted bedroom, left fingers curling into his palm. His legs took him in swift silence to the threshold of Janessa McNeil's door. With caution, he leaned in, glimpsing a large bed to his right. She occupied the closest half, lying on her side, facing him. How very thoughtful. Scarcely drawing oxygen, he stepped into the room. Her eyes opened. How? His limbs froze. He'd made no sound. Had she sensed his presence? The malevolence in his pores? Janessa's head lifted from the pillow. In one fluid motion, he strode to the bed, thrust the bottle 6 inches from her face, and panic-pumped the spray.